So hopefully everybody's joined. It's great to see so many people here. I've been asked to facilitate, not moderate. And the idea is this is really a brainstorming session for people to, and then Voice is going to help out too, to brainstorm on, how to help people. I have some ideas of topics, but I don't feel like we need to do those necessarily. I guess the first thing is, does someone want to take notes and report back to the whole group?
I'll do that.
Who's that? Diane? Oh.
Sandy.
Oh.
If no one else volunteers.
No, yay, Sandy.
Okay.
Great, Sandy. Okay. Do people have, like I said, I've got kind of a list of topics, but I just thought I'd open it up to see what people's ideas. Yeah, you're muted, Sandy. I don't think we have to raise hands or anything.
Okay. I was torn between two, and this one and more advocacy. And I'm on the board of a faith-based, a liberal faith-based mental health network, and I've seen that much of faith-based networks tend to be NAMI, diagnosis-based and everything, and I have very strong feelings in Peer Respite in so much a different direction. Excuse me. And I've sent in to the president that I want to establish a liaison position where I am working with peer recovery groups, with exactly this kind of stuff and so much more, to present their information so that the association will be able to learn that there's not just a diagnosis medical model. There's so much more. So that's what I'm open for, to learn how I can do that, to be that liaison to get this information out.
Great. I think that's a really great idea. I mean, one of the things that seems like happened is that where, people used to get, pastoral support or counseling and, general support from, their religious organizations, that's all just getting punted to the, medical model system now. So I think that's a great idea. Anybody else? So I'm just going to say my whole list of this kind of like I was trying to think of areas where we might help people to start, and I think it's not just start, but maintain peer respites and Soteria houses. And the 5 areas that I was thinking about was organizations. How do you set up organizations to do this work, and like nonprofit or non-governmental organizations. And then what about geographical organizing? How do we support people in various it might just be a country, it might just be a state, it might be a region. What way might we organize around supporting that? Communications and networking, which I think is, really the key to going forward in terms of how, that's how we're going to support people, is this, set up these communication and networking systems. And I'm really interested in what thoughts people have on that. how to set up mentoring and technical, which might also be called technical assistance. And then a big one for me is how do we maintain fidelity to the principles, because I've had a kind of bad negative experience about that. We set up some really good things and then they've fallen apart. And I remember talking to Lauren where he talked to Dr. Moser, who did the original Soteria House experiment or study, and he talked to me about how much a problem that was. So do people have thoughts on those? Do people have other thoughts? Yeah. Ruth?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, my name's Ruth. I'm from the UK. I'm quite interested in this geographical thing because I do feel that we need to get people together who are reasonably able to communicate about what we're doing and put forward ideas and get together and sort of think this through pertaining to our own geographical areas. And I know other people who are in the UK who are probably quite interested in starting this off, and Jen has already, Jen actually in our group now has actually said, it's already brought forward ideas about how we're going to possibly do this. So I'm interested in that, and I'm somebody who actually did get involved in the Brighton Soteria group. A few years ago, we started that up, and it actually was running quite well. But the one thing that set us back really was the funding issue, and we did try to raise funding via educational discussions and talks in a local pub, which went very well, and we did raise quite a bit of money. But this whole thing needs a lot of energy and a lot of funding, and I'm quite keen to do it again with people who are really keen to set this up. So that's where I'm coming from at the moment.
That's good. I probably should have had funding on my list. So that's really great that you brought that up. Anybody else?
Okay. Well, Jim, I just hear a little bit about people are kind of down because their programs didn't last a long time, or they failed or something like that. And I think this whole thing is a fairly organic process that we need to also have a perspective of longevity for the process versus a particular program. I mean, when you got in touch with me around Alma's obituary, I had no idea there was all this stuff going on, and had been for years. Voice, I think you probably knew about it, but I didn't. I'd been out of the loop for so long, I just assumed Soteria had come and gone, and I just kind of mourned it, that the process didn't continue. And then to find out, both from ICEP and the Soteria Summit and peer support, that there's this tremendous movement worldwide going on, and has been going on for 50 years. So part of it is understanding that it's organic, that it's like was a Bertolt Brecht, you fail, you try, you fail, you try again, you fail better. So it's that kind of thing. This is a new idea, even though it's old, but it's new, and people are tremendously resistant to it. Big pharma and medicine is tremendously resistant to it. So it's going to be just a gradual eroding of these orthodox beliefs. And orthodoxy is there to maintain a reality. And we the whole thing is just go with the perspective of, don't get too down if you're failing. Just try again, fail better next time. So that's all.
That's great. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting to me, I think maybe people know of Pat Risser. I don't know how many people knew him or know of him, but he was a great psychiatric survivor advocate, and he moved back home to Ohio and got involved with the Ashland Mental Health and Recovery Board, or whatever it's called. And he really seems to have created this whole, and he passed away a number of years ago, and they're still really following his, you know, his teaching about all this stuff, which is really consistent with what we've been saying. And I'm really curious to figure out how he did that, and of course how long that's going to last. Sandy, you're muted.
I think that the fidelity is a critical issue. A friend of mine went to 2 different peer respites in the Los Angeles area within the past couple of years, and one absolutely sucked. And it was terrible. I mean, she described it to me, and she was in a dark place to begin with, and in a darker place when she left. And so it's we have to stick to what are the best practices, what actually works, because if you have somebody go to that, not only does a poor model reflect that on the organization, it shows the person who is seeking alternative help that there really is no help. And so that to me is perhaps the number one thing, to make sure that whatever is being supported, it has legitimacy.
Yeah, I'd like to talk here a little about, I think, the issue that's really critical here. I was a part of the first, you can think about it, but right after Soteria and during Soteria, there was a huge alternative movement called the social rehab movement. And it really combined 2 things. One of the residential system, and the other one was the case management model. And these 2, Soteria sort of represented in terms of NIMH, in terms of the research. The other one was the PAC model for the case management model that was and we wound up creating a very good alternative system. And what happened just overnight, by getting legislation and funding for these programs through the state, through the state, we, within a matter of 6 months, the funding was co-opted by the medical model, and it wound up creating what we call the not wraparound. What's the other? The wraparound is more for kids. The continuum of care. Yeah. And so what happened, essentially, the funding got taken over by psychiatry and pharma. And what happened, these programs suddenly became an offshoot of the medical model. And sort of they determined the use of the medication. And so overnight, all this work sort of switched and became just part of the medical model. If you look at the case management model, it is really more of just a hospitals without walls is the term that you hear used a lot. Making sure people stay on their medications rather than an alternative, how to get people out of the system. There's sort of another way of making sure people take their medications. And if you look at it, the chronicity and the stuff they have, it really does more damage than good, as far as I'm concerned. I worked in Wisconsin with a model for about 5 years, and I think it does more harm than good actually now.
Yeah.
Just to interrupt and say, I just saw a note from Grace, don't know whether people saw, that said like a minute or so ago, we'd only got 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
it goes very fast. Yeah. So I don't want to take any more time up, but just to say that.
So one of the things that I wonder about is if we should try and get a presentation in one of the follow-up, meetings on Sherry Mead's intentional peer support approach, because I think it's because I don't know that much about it. I mean, but just it seems like she's put together a really good framework for that, and what it takes to be faithful to the principles.
Mm.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, we definitely need to do more continuation of groups like this. It's just too short and too fast a time. I mean, just as we're talking, I'm looking at the pictures, and I think at least half the people here have written about their experiences, and that itself can be a very effective way of changing the public perception and the public attitude. And that may be a part of a thing that needs to develop more. How can we get just more firsthand stories into public knowledge? And it's just versus just legislature and stuff, but it's the whole society we're looking to change.
Promote my book.
Yeah,
so one of the
exactly.
things is, do people want to reconvene this group, periodically?
I would like to, yes.
All right. Okay. Good.
I'm wondering, like, I think this should belong to the other breakout room on social media, but I'm wondering if someone thought about like contacting social media influencers or people who have 20 million followers and they spread news about big companies doing unethical practices, and so many people just comment, like NAS Daily or Project Nightfall. I don't know. You think that's an okay idea or something?
I think it's a fabulous idea, Keith.
But you got to be knowledgeable. I mean, Keith, you obviously are. So.
Yeah, like I didn't know that those groups are people. So, yeah.
Because like one person like NAS Daily has 20 million followers on Facebook, and if he just makes one video, then hundreds of thousands of people would know about Soteria. We can just message him, message Project Nightfall. They just talk about the issues around the world, or the good things or the bad things around the world. They make videos, people watch them, and so many people are aware about these things. Yeah, can be aware about these things.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
I think it's important that we get the message out, however we get it out. Message from Grace, 15
minutes more.
More. Oh, that's good.
That's funny.
Oh.
Mm.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think what's happened, of course, more recently, like I was saying about how the Brighton group, the Soteria group here in Brighton, England, did dwindle off because people's energy just ran out, basically. We didn't have this kind of communication that we have now, as we have at the moment on this Zoom and other social media platforms, that we can get the messages out there. But there's more and more, certainly in the UK, that is, we're sharing so much more information, and that I think is amazingly going to make an amazing difference if we can just use that platform or those platforms to kind of get this message out there to different organizations, the general public. And I think that thing somebody said about narratives, the more we can get the narratives of people's experiences out there. Like there's somebody here in the UK called Dolly Sen, who is a survivor of the mental health system, and she's asking for people to write in because she wants to get more narratives in places that are more public, like libraries, and another organization in the UK, which I can't remember the name of, but they keep all these documents for public awareness, for the public to generally go and read about it, because she says there's not enough information out there about what people are experiencing within the mental health system regarding the medication, the medical model, and everything else that's so oppressive. So, that again, I agree. I think we need to get more, as well as much as we can, information out there.
Yeah, might be worth saying, Ruth, there's an organisation in the UK called Safely Held Spaces who've been really helpful. And one of their founder members is actually a journalist on Sky News.
Yeah.
And he's managed very recently we had Mental Health Awareness Day recently, and he managed to get two kind of not mainstream voices there. One was Russell Razak talking about open dialogue, and the other one was an organisation in the UK called
Drop the Disorder.
A Disorder for Everyone, that's around trying to drop the term labelling diagnoses, and he managed to get both of those on what's the sort of mainstream news. So I suppose that might link with the tech group, but I think it's around what we're talking about. We're trying to get the message out to the mainstream, not just to it, because it can often just keep circulating around to each other, can't it? And it's like more
absolutely.
the voice that
That's
already.
the trick.
Yeah.
That's
So that's the kind of thing that can make a difference. So it's finding allies in the mainstream media or on the edges of the mainstream media that can help us. I think that's important. So I think that someone from Safe Health Spaces has been joining these groups, and it might be we could encourage one that is a producer, I think he's a producer on Sky News, to perhaps run a workshop on. He's done workshops on media training and how to kind of infiltrate the news a bit more. So these are things that we could think about for the future.
I think
Sandy?
Ruth brought up a great point, which is that we need support among each other. And I think that the Zoom and these ways to communicate across borders easily is really critical, that we not get discouraged, that we have people who are going through these things, that we can encourage each other and say what works or what doesn't. But sometimes, it's just when you get frustrated and discouraged, it's just a listening ear that you need to sort of revamp that sense of purpose. And yeah, I'm not doing this alone. I'm not just batting my head against the wall. There are other people with me. So in terms of moving forward with what's been started in this summit, I think having those kinds of opportunities for people to talk to each other and support each other is going to be really critical.
I was wondering, I've noticed that the rank and file within the community, within wherever, are very averse to sharing their stories, and they, like probably many of us, have parts that are very painful, and to bring them out elicits a lot of pain and shame that has not been dealt with. And I'm wondering what programs exist so that people who are interested, the people that we don't see here that have been doing this, but the people that are in the community, in the workplace, whatever, who are dealing with this stuff alone, where we can help them gain a bit of self-empowerment in order that they can share vignettes of their own story to gain legitimacy. I know that Patrick Corrigan has the Honest Open Proud program, and it deals with mental illness. And I also know for many of us that that term is anathema. And so what exists out there, so that one way to support this would be to bring in people who have their own stories that can raise the level of concern on a grassroots level, so that peer respites become more of a reality.
That's great. I mean, there's a section on the psychrights.org site called Everyday Horrors of the Mental Health System that over the years has collected quite a few stories. And then previously, I, with this organization called the Alaska Mental Health Consumer Web, aknhcweb.org, I collected recovery stories, and these are old too. That organization and that website is kind of migrated, but I might try and I actually maintain control of the domain because I didn't want those historic resources to be lost. So I can probably find a link for that and provide that. So I think, you know, getting this information out to the general public this way is really important. And I think Keith's point about, you know, social media influencers, you know, how to get them involved in this too. Sorry for dominating her.
I'm fine with you dominating, Jim. Also, I wanted to respond to Sandy that my concern also is, especially when you're talking about people who have had horrendous experiences and feel shame, that we be real careful there on terms of increasing that shame for them, that they become martyrs without even knowing it, and that we just keep our level of respect so high for these people, not to exploit them. I think mainly Sandy is my big concern.
Right, and there are a lot of people for good reasons don't really want to, and maybe even shouldn't, you know, expose themselves that way. But there are other people that do want to and have, and so I never really encourage, you know, tell people I think they should. I don't think I ever have, but you know, a lot of people want the world to know what's happened to them.
Yeah,
and you know, and people want to share how they, you know, got through things and, you know, back on track with their life too. Anybody who hasn't said anything I noticed we got a couple people, Anna just joined, want to say something? I mean, most of everybody I think has talked except maybe Ben and Mary.
Hi everyone, I just popped in here from a different group. I am new to this whole thing, so thank you so much for organizing. It's been great to know that there's inspiration and hope. And I guess I'm just lurking to see, you know, in what ways I could get involved. I am looking for a supportive community myself. I'm in Toronto at the moment, so I've missed the rest of the conversation here in the group, so I won't be asking any questions so that there is no repetitions.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, Anna.
I was just going to say hello. I'm in Manchester, UK. I just want to say I'm really grateful to everyone that's organised this summit. I've attended most of them. I'm a carer and I also work in the NHS in England. Yeah, I'm a bit under the weather at the moment, so I won't talk much, but I really feel encouraged by hearing people's experiences of running alternative places for people to go and trying something different and hearing that it works. And, you know, I don't have a lot of personal resources at the moment because I work normally 30 hours a week. in mental health, and I'm also supporting my son who doesn't live with me. So I'm just tired of the revolving door syndrome that's happening.
Hi, Mary.
Hi there,
sorry.
Jen.
Yes, so please link up with UK Soteria Network.
So I've been attending some of Jen's UK Soteria meetings, and that's great that you're doing that. And I was just going to say, when you were talking about, I think you were talking, Jen, about using the media, and you mentioned a certain journalist. So yeah, I was going to say that I think that's a good idea, and Jen probably already knows this, but in the UK we've got a very good mental health charity. Years ago it used to be called the Schizophrenia Society or whatever association. I think it was set up by a father of somebody who was a service user. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong words and everything, but then it was renamed Rethink, and they're very good. So we've got a Manchester group, and I think they're across the country as well. And apparently they've got a media officer there. And so that might be a useful thing to know. As I say, Jen might know that already, but I was actually asked to be interviewed on a particular topic, which I declined at the time, but it was about how people were being sent out of area because there was no beds locally. Yeah, someone close to me was sent 200 miles away, which is a long way, to another hospital. So, but yeah, and they were very helpful, Rethink, this charity. And I said to them, I don't think I'm up to being interviewed by TV at the moment. And she said, there's no pressure. We have got a media officer and they'll talk through, if you've got any questions. So I thought that's just useful to know that in some charities, mental health charities or whatever, there are people that will support you, if you are going to be interviewed and tell your story. Because someone said, there's been some really helpful comments about people should have the opportunity to speak and tell their story, and also not feel the pressure to do it, and be protected if they need be, carers and everyone else. That's me. Thank you. 3 more minutes.
Can I just jump in quickly, Jim? To mention Robert Whitaker and Mad in America is another, I think, a real good source. He is a journalist, and his Mad in America webpage, I think, also is another source we need to use. That's all. So
speaking of Bob Whitaker, I think that talk he gave to the Soteria UK group is maybe the most important one I've ever seen, and could really be helpful if it, got spread around.
What's the source for that? Where can we find that? I've never seen it.
It's on the Soteria, at the UK Soteria Network website. There's a link to it there, and I think it might be on the
Mad in America, probably. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it could be on there. Yes. So it was on the, I think it was July the 30th, I think it was. But it was through the UK Soteria Network, and it was about a 45-minute talk, wonderful. I think, wasn't it? Might be a bit
actually, there's a link to it on right at the top of the psychrights.org site. And Jean, I think you have my email address, and I can send the link to you.
Yeah. Okay,
I think we've got, I think, less than a minute now. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I think this was good. I think it'll be good to, do follow-up stuff and really try and figure out how to, support people trying to, put together Peer Respites and Soteria Houses. I think we're going to get knocked out here any second.